The winter evening in New York was draped in festive lights, casting a warm glow through the windows of Lisa and Charles's home. Inside, however, the atmosphere was starkly different. Lisa, elegant in her simplicity, sat on the plush sofa, her hands clasped together in her lap. Across from her, Charles, a man who had always been the epitome of confidence, now appeared diminished, his usual poise replaced by a nervous energy. "Lisa, there's something important I need to tell you," Charles started, his voice barely above a whisper. He avoided her gaze, looking instead at the flickering flames in the fireplace. Lisa's heart skipped a beat. "What is it, Charles? You're worrying me." He took a deep breath, as if bracing himself. "I've been unfaithful to you," he blurted out, the words hanging heavy in the air. The room seemed to spin around Lisa, but she steadied herself, her face an unreadable mask. "An affair?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Charles nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "Yes, with someone younger. She's 21. A recent arrival in New York." Lisa felt a cold wave wash over her, and, "Why are you telling me this now, Charles? Just 2 days before Christmas. I can't live with this guilt anymore. I plan to leave." "To be with her," Charles confessed, his voice laced with a mixture of guilt and relief at unburdening his secret. A silence fell between them, a chasm that seemed to grow with each passing second. Lisa finally spoke, her words precise and deliberate. "Who is she, Charles? Do I know her?" "No, you don't. She's nothing like us. She's young, just starting her life here," Charles replied, his tone defensive. Lisa absorbed this new information, her mind racing. "And what do you expect me to do, Charles? Just accept this and move on." I don't know, Lisa. I never wanted to hurt you, but I can't deny my feelings for her." Lisa looked at the man she had loved and trusted for years, now a stranger to her. "I see. Well, Charles, you've certainly given me a lot to think about," she said, her voice calm, but her eyes betraying the storm raging within. Charles stood up, the weight of his confession visibly bearing down on him. "I'm sorry, Lisa. I truly am." As he left the room, Lisa sat motionless, the echoes of his words resonating in the now silent house. In the glow of the Christmas lights, her world had irrevocably changed, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The aftermath of Charles's confession left the room suffused with a palpable tension. Lisa sat, her mind a whirlwind of emotions, yet her exterior remained composed, almost serene. The festive decorations around the room seemed mocking now, a stark contrast to the turmoil within. After a few moments of heavy silence, Lisa finally spoke. Her voice was calm, almost eerily so. "Tell me about her, Charles. This woman you're leaving us for." Charles, who had been pacing restlessly, stopped and looked at Lisa. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes, perhaps at her composure. "Her name is Mary. She's young, just starting out in the city. We met a few months ago." Lisa nodded, processing this information. "And what does Mary do?" "She's an aspiring artist, came to New York to chase her dreams," Charles said, a distant look in his eyes. Lisa's mind raced. An artist, young, full of dreams. How different her own life seemed in comparison. "And she knows about our..." Charles shifted uncomfortably. "I haven't told her everything. Not about the kids, not in detail." Lisa felt a pang in her heart at the mention of their children. "And you're planning to leave us just like that, 2 days before Christmas?" Charles ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration. "I know the timing is terrible, Lisa, but I can't keep living this lie. It's not fair to you, to the kids, or to Mary." Lisa's gaze was steady. "And what about what's fair to me, Charles? Did you think about that when you started this affair?" Charles looked away, unable to meet her eyes. "I know I've been selfish. I'm sorry, Lisa. I truly am." Lisa stood up, her movements graceful yet deliberate. "I need some time to think, Charles. to understand how everything we built together has come to this." Charles nodded, his expression one of regret and resignation. "I'll stay at a hotel tonight. Give you some space." As Charles left, Lisa remained standing, alone in the room filled with memories of a life that was now crumbling around her. She looked out the window at the city lights, wondering how the world outside could continue to move on, oblivious to the heartbreak within the walls of her home. The following day, the sun streamed through the curtains of the living room where Lisa sat, lost in thought. The doorbell rang, pulling her from her reverie. It was Charles, looking more composed than the night before, but his eyes still held a hint of apprehension. As he entered, Lisa noted his unease. "Back so soon, Charles? I thought you needed time to think." Charles cleared his throat, seeming to rehearse his words. "Lisa, we need to talk about how we're going to handle this situation." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "This situation, as you call it. What exactly do you propose?" Charles took a deep breath. "I think it would be best for everyone if you were to initiate the divorce. It would look better for my reputation and my position at work." Lisa's calm demeanor faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of disbelief. "You want me to file for divorce so that you can maintain your reputation? After you've decided to abandon your family for a 21-year... It's not just about me," Charles tried to explain. "It's about keeping things civil, for the kids' sake. And my job, it's crucial for our financial stability, at least until everything is settled." Lisa's voice was icy. "And if I refuse, if I decide to let the world know why our marriage ended?" Charles's expression hardened. "If you do that, it could get messy. Very messy. I could make sure you don't get a penny in the settlement. I'm offering you a way to keep things civil and financially secure." Lisa stared at him, her mind racing. "So, you're threatening me? After all these years, this is what it comes down to?" "It's not a threat, Lisa. It's just the reality of the situation. I'm trying to make this easier for both of us." Lisa leaned back, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "Easier for you, you mean? Well, Charles, I'll consider your proposal, but on one condition." Charles looked at her, cautious. "What condition?" Lisa's gaze was unwavering. "I want to meet her. Mary. I want to see the woman who is worth destroying our family for." Charles looked taken aback. "Meet Mary? I don't think that's a good idea." "It's non-negotiable, Charles. If you want me to go along with your plan, I meet her. Otherwise, I'll see you in court and let the chips fall where they may." Charles, realizing the gravity of Lisa's resolve, nodded slowly. "All right." As Charles left, Lisa sat back, a mix of emotions coursing through her. She had played her card, stepping into uncharted territory, but with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt since Charles's devastating confession. A few days later, Lisa found herself in a quaint cafe in downtown New York, her heart pounding in anticipation. She was about to meet Mary, the woman for whom Charles was willing to leave his family. The cafe was bustling with the usual city crowd, but Lisa's focus was on the door, watching for Mary's arrival. Finally, a young woman stepped in, her eyes scanning the room. She was indeed very young, with an air of innocence that seemed out of place in the city. Lisa recognized her immediately from the description Charles had given. Taking a deep breath, Lisa waved her over. "May?" Lisa called out gently as the young woman approached. "Yes, and you must be Lisa," Mary said, a nervous smile on her face. "Charles told me about you." Lisa motioned for her to sit down. "Yes, I'm Lisa. Thank you for agreeing to meet me." Mary sat down, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "Charles said it was important to you." Lisa studied Mary for a moment. "Mary, I want you to know the full truth about Charles. About his life, his responsibilities, and what he's leaving behind." Mary's eyes widened slightly. "He told me he was unhappy. That things weren't working out between you two." Lisa sighed. "Unhappy is a convenient word. We have a life together, Mary. 2 children who adore their father. A home we built over years. It's not just about unhappiness." Mary looked down, her expression troubled. "I didn't realize. He didn't tell me about his kids. Or that things were still active between you." Lisa's voice softened. "Mary, you're young. You have your whole life ahead of you. Charles, he's not just leaving a wife. He's abandoning a family, a life we've built over decades. He's not the man you think he is, and he also has serious health problems." Mary's eyes filled with confusion and doubt. I just thought we had something special. He made me feel important." Feeling important is wonderful, but at what cost? Lisa asked gently, "You're stepping into a situation with a lot of history, a lot of pain. Are you ready for that kind of responsibility?" Mary shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know. I didn't think it would be this complicated." Lisa reached across the table, touching Mary's hand lightly. "You deserve someone who can give you their whole heart, not just the broken pieces of a life they're leaving behind." Mary looked up, her eyes meeting Lisa's. There was a moment of silent understanding between them. "I need to think about this," Mary said finally, standing up. "Thank you, Lisa, for being honest with me. And if you don't mind, we'll have the next conversation together at your home." As Mary walked away, Lisa remained seated, watching her leave. She felt a mix of emotions. Sadness for the young woman caught in the web of Charles's deceit, and a strange sense of relief. She had done what she could to protect her family, even if the future remained uncertain. The meeting had been set in Lisa's home, a space once filled with laughter and love, now a backdrop for a confrontation of broken dreams. Lisa had insisted on this location, wanting Mary to see the life Charles was about to leave behind. As the time approached, Lisa prepared herself, her heart heavy, but her resolve firm. The doorbell rang, echoing through the house. Lisa took a deep breath and opened the door. Mary stood there, a look of apprehension on her young face. Behind her, somewhat reluctantly, was Charles. "Please come in," Lisa said, her voice steady. As they entered the living room, Charles looked around uncomfortably. The walls adorned with family photos, the children's artwork on the fridge, all stark reminders of the life he was about to abandon. Mary looked around, visibly taken aback by the warmth and history embedded in every corner of the house. "You have a beautiful home," she said, her voice small. "Thank you," Lisa replied. "It's been the heart of our family for years." Charles cleared his throat. "Lisa, can we just talk about what needs to be done? I don't see the point in—" "Charles, this is important," Lisa interjected firmly. "Mary needs to understand." Turning to Mary, Lisa continued, "I want you to meet someone." She called out, and 2 children, a boy and a girl, came into the room. Their eyes were curious but cautious. "These are our children, Max and Emily." Lisa introduced them. "They are the biggest part." Mary knelt down to their level. "Hi, Max. Hi, Emily. I'm Mary." Max, the older one, looked at her and then at his father. "Are you Dad's friend?" Mary glanced at Charles, her expression troubled. "Yes, I'm a friend of your Dad's." Emily, clutching a doll, looked up at her father. "Are you staying for dinner, Daddy?" Charles's face paled. "No, sweetheart, I can't tonight. I have—" Lisa watched the exchange, her heart aching for her children. She turned to Mary. "This is the reality, Mary. These are the lives affected. Charles isn't just leaving me, he's leaving them." Mary stood up, her eyes glossy with unshed tears. "I didn't realize how much was at stake. I'm sorry. I need to think about all this." Charles spoke up, his voice strained. "Mary, wait. We can talk about this." "No, Charles," Mary said, shaking her head. "I need some time alone." As Mary left, the children looked confused. Lisa knelt down and hugged them close. "Everything's going to be okay," she whispered, more to herself than Charles stood there, the enormity of the situation dawning on him. "Lisa, But Lisa cut him off. "Please leave, Charles. We'll discuss the rest through our lawyers." As Charles left, the door closing behind him felt like the end of an era. Lisa sat with her children, holding them tight, her mind racing with the uncertainty of the future, but her heart resolute in protecting them. Months had passed since the day Charles walked out of the family home for the last time. Lisa found herself sitting in her living room, now dimmed of its usual vibrancy, as she flipped through an old family album. The sound of laughter from the photos seemed like echoes from a distant past. The phone rang, breaking the silence. Lisa hesitated for a moment before answering. "Lisa, it's me." Charles's voice came through, strained and weary. "What do you want, Charles?" Lisa asked, her voice devoid of warmth. I just wanted to see how you and the kids are doing," he said, a hint of hesitation. "We're managing, as you can probably imagine," Lisa replied curtly. There was a pause before Charles spoke again. "Lisa, I made a mistake. Mary left me. She said it was too much for her, taking care of an older man, dealing with my health issues." Lisa's grip on the phone tightened. "And you're telling me this because…" "I don't know. I guess I just wanted to talk to someone who knew me before all this mess." Lisa let out a bitter laugh. "You made your choices, Charles. You chose to betray your family for a fantasy. You're reaping what you sowed." I know I've been a fool," Charles admitted. "I've lost my job too. They didn't take kindly to the scandal." "Scandal has a way of revealing true characters," Lisa said coldly. "You chose this path, Charles. You can't expect sympathy now that it's turned rocky." "I don't expect sympathy, Lisa. I miss my family. Lisa sighed, a mix of anger and sadness in her voice. "What we had is gone, Charles. You destroyed it. The kids are struggling to understand why their father chose to leave them. I'm doing my best to keep everything together, but I'm sorry, Lisa. Truly, I am," Charles said, his voice breaking. "Sorry doesn't change what you've done. Sorry doesn't fix our family," Lisa replied. "I have to go. I need to be there for our children, the children you left behind." As Lisa hung up the phone, she felt a wave of emotions wash over her. She looked around the room at the life she had built, now altered forever. She was struggling financially, but she held on to her dignity and the love for her children. Lisa walked over to the window, looking out at the city that had been her home for so long. The world outside continued to move, unaware of the small dramas unfolding within its countless homes. In her heart, Lisa knew she had the strength to rebuild her life, to find a new path for herself and her children, a path filled with honesty and love, something that could never be shattered by betrayal. Years had passed since the tumultuous events that had reshaped Lisa's life. She found herself in the same living room, which had witnessed so much joy and sorrow. The room was quieter now, the children having grown into young adults with lives of their own. Lisa sat by the window, gazing at the sunset, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. Her daughter, Emily, now a young woman, entered the room. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Lisa turned and smiled, a smile that spoke of resilience forged in the fires of life's trials. "Yes, darling, I'm fine. Just thinking about the past." Emily sat beside her. "Do you ever regret it, Mum? How everything changed?" Lisa took Emily's hand. "Regret is a complicated thing. Your father made his choices, and they hurt us deeply. But look at us now. We're stronger, closer. We've learned so much about ourselves." Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting a maturity beyond her years. "I sometimes wish things were different, that we were still a family." Lisa sighed. "I understand, sweetheart. But sometimes life takes unexpected turns, and we must find our way through them." The front door opened and Max, now a young man, stepped in. "Hey, Eee, are we getting all sentimental in here? Emily laughed, a sound that filled the room with warmth. Just a little trip down memory lane. Max joined them, sitting on the armrest of Lisa's chair. You know, I've been thinking. Dad made his choices, and they were pretty terrible. But we made it through, didn't we? Lisa looked at her children, her heart swelling with pride. Yes, we did. We faced our challenges and came out stronger. The room fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that comes from shared understanding and love. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow that seemed to embrace the house. Mom, Emily said softly, I think Dad was the one who lost the most. He lost this. Lisa nodded. Yes, he did, and it's a loss he'll have to live with. But we've built a new life, one filled with hope and new beginnings. Max stood up, stretching his arms. Well, I don't know about you two, but I'm ready for some dinner. How about we go out tonight? My treat. Lisa smiled, standing up. That sounds wonderful, Matt. As they left the room, the echoes of their past remained, a reminder of what they had endured. But those echoes were now joined by the sounds of laughter and conversation, the sounds of a family that had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. The emotional echoes of their past had become the foundation for their future, a testament to their resilience and the enduring power of love. She was never able to admit the betrayal,